Hi guys, Andy here. Welcome back to Elsewhere High, and today we finally set foot inside the classroom and inside Elsewhere High. It's been a very long time coming, you know. So I'm just gonna jump right in. Hi, goodbye. Hi, goodbye. Hi, hello, good morning. There was less than Derek had expected. He wasn't quite sure of what, however. Last night, the colors of the room were notably muted, and it took Derek's eyes a moment to balance themselves. Less people, empty chairs dotted the room, almost teasing those who were there. These many people didn't screw up like you. The atmosphere of the room was alien to Derek. Like so much else, he felt as if he were becoming used to feeling discomforted. It wasn't that he felt frightened or unsafe, but the classroom gave him a peculiar sensation that he couldn't quite define. Grab a seat, man. Ugh, this asshole. Anywhere? Yep, there's no seating plan or whatever. Oh, another unfamiliar feeling of newness disorganization. Derek sat down next to Vincent. Sophie followed and sat on the other side of Derek. Don't worry, we got you. She stiffened her lips into something of a smile. Vincent reached over to Derek between their desks and tapped his arm. That's Teach up there. An older woman, middle-aged perhaps, sat at the front desk reading a book. A pen sat nimbly in her hand, her grip loose and unsure. While her stare was resolute and focused, there was a welcoming air about her that calmed Derek. Looks can be deceiving. You don't have to worry about her. She's great. She can be mean, but just don't be an asshole and you'll never see that side of her. Fair enough. Sophie seemed to be rather alert. It was as if she were studying the room and those in it quite closely. Nobody has a bag. Hmm? Like a backpack or a notebook or anything. They're kept in the classroom. Oh. Sophie's eyes never met Derek when they spoke. He turned to Vincent to see him sitting limply in his chair. You're right, Vincent moaned. Ugh, yeah, just tired. Man, this is taking forever. We just got here. It's all relative, brother. There's nothing Vincent hates more than class. Students filed in slowly. Soon, one of them sat in front of Derek. His frame was tiny and his movements meek. Sophie grinned, leaned towards him, and used her slender figure to snap the back of his shoulder. Hey, Toby. He turned toward her. Oh, hey, Sophie. He spoke kindly, but sounded slightly confused. Sophie gestured towards Derek. This is Derek, the new guy Teach was telling us about. Toby's eyebrows rose slightly, and he gave a timid smile. Oh, hi. I'm Toby. Nice to meet you. Thanks. Toby turned back to face the front of the classroom. Sophie leaned towards Derek and whispered, He's kinda shy. Newness never really sat well with Derek. He couldn't honestly say that he was overly welcoming of change. This newness was no different, but the accompanying feelings of burning apprehension and unease were heightened. This newness was a punishment, not a necessity. He brought the scraping fear on himself. The walls seemed to close in on him. There was no room to breathe. And this is Ash. Huh? Derek looked towards Sophie and saw her gesturing to a girl sitting next to her. Derek had to crane his neck to see her. Hey, so you're Derek. Yeah. Hey. Cool. Well, welcome. Derek nodded to her but did not reply. She seemed distant. All right. The teacher stood from her desk upright and gave a subtle scratch to her scalp, finding her thoughts. Most of us seem to be here today. Has anyone seen Killian by chance? There is silence. Right. She sounded unimpressed but not at all surprised. Matthias is unfortunately still feeling ill, so he won't be joining us today. She made some notes on a scrap of paper on her desk. But other than that, I think we can get started. As I'm sure some of you have noticed, we have a new student joining us today. I'd give a small introduction, but I wouldn't want to steal that opportunity from you, so why don't you come on up to the front, Derek? His eyes darted this way and that, and his heart surged with swollen tempo. Uh, yes, come on up, please. She gave him no room for choice, but spoke gregariously. It certainly wasn't her that terrified Derek, but the situation. Okay. He rose from his desk and carried himself to the front of the class. He felt like a placemat for the other students' stares. The teacher made space for him, moving to the side of the classroom and leaning against the wall. She waited patiently. Well, I could start. My name is Miss Dupont. I am, for now, the only teacher here at Elsewhere High, and I have been here since it opened 2 months ago. I come from Oregon. My favorite dessert is vanilla flan, and I have a large interest in Korean cinema. She smiled at Derek and nodded her head in encouragement. Something like that. Um, Derek's hands found comfort in his pockets. Okay, my name's Derek. I just got here today. A low chuckle read from the class, and it did well to settle him. I'm from Iowa, so it's nice to see some other Asians for once. The class laughed again, and Vincent perked right up. I got your back, brother. Miss Dupont rolled her eyes and grinned in what might have been reluctant disapproval. Um, I don't really like dessert. Ice cream is pretty good, I guess. And I've never seen a Korean movie. Although he gave a large shrug to mark the end of his introduction, Derek did feel a small seed of confidence. At least I made them laugh. And what grade were you studying? 12th. Very good. Thank you, Derek. Do you have any questions for us? All of us are seniors then? Does anyone want to answer this question for Derek? Toby, how about you give it a try? You can have a seat, Derek. As he tried not to rush back, Derek could see Toby shifting awkwardly in his seat. Aww, I like Toby so far. Derek is wondering if everyone here came from the 12th grade. How would you answer that? No, we didn't. Thank you, Toby. In the future, I would like to see some more elaboration, but thank you for answering Derek's question. Not all of you came from your senior year, no. Some of you are younger than others, but and by we, I mean the founders of this institution, and myself, tried to install a very inclusive and accessible classroom setting. We focus on a multi-approach teaching style. All of you are the teachers as much as myself. Seeing you or others invited to the front of the class to answer a question or form an opinion will be extremely common. Of course, I am the teacher and therefore the overseer and organizer, but that by no means defines my knowledge as greater or better than yours. We all have something to learn from each other. I know this might sound odd to you, but I think most of your peers here today would agree that it takes little time to get used to and create a much more open environment. There is zero tolerance for any type of bullying or discrimination. I hope that above all else is clear. Fun fact, when I went to school, my friends and I went through our school handbook, because why not? And one of the grounds for being expelled is murder. So, a fun fact about my school. She made her way back to the front of her desk and set her body onto it. Her posture was casual, her knees bent, her arms crossed. For some reason, it excited Derek. Maybe this will be alright. Mrs. DuPont took a contemplative moment. Okay. Who would like to explain to Derek how we tend to start each day? Sophie adjusted her baseball cap. Was that a raised hand, Sophie? Just fits in my hat. But I'll go for it. Sophie turned and faced Derek rather than offering her response to the teacher. We usually start every day with a critical thinking discussion. That's right. I appreciate it, Sophie. Thank you. Derek, each day we engage in a discussion topic. It's an open conversation. Raising your hand can be used as a form of organization, but generally we can speak when we feel the need to add to the discussion. There is no goal to these discussions, and rather, there is no end goal. What we are attempting to do is to think critically about a subject or a topic we might often give no thought to at all. It fascinates me, as I believe it does some of you as well, because often we see some of us leave the conversations with a completely new perspective on things. Stealing music? The class let out a low chuckle, as did Mrs. DuPont. Exactly. What a great discussion that was. There's a sense of tentative camaraderie in the room, as if the jaw that held everyone together and close could soften at any moment. Today's topic. She turned around, picked up a piece of chalk from the small shelf, and began to write, speaking the words as she penned them. Is it immoral to lie? Placing the chalk back, she once again faced the class and leaned on her desk. Is it immoral to lie? She let the question sit. Well, is it immoral to lie? What do we think? The silence in the class didn't spawn from apathy, but rather contemplation. All right, new guy. What do we think? Is it immoral to lie? Well, the question is, what are morals? I mean, we obviously know what morals are, but the main point is, how are we defined by morals? Does each individual in the world have their own set? Do they follow something structural like the Bible? Questions like that. Okay, I'm going to say no. It's not immoral. No? And why? Her voice held no judgment towards his rather brash response. This is a safe space, Derek. Don't let preconceptions filter your thoughts. Think for yourself and then answer for yourself. Okay. He claimed a moment to gather himself. I don't know if I believe that anything is immoral. Or if it is, then who gets to say it is? Maybe lying to hurt someone is bad, but that's not the only reason people lie. It's probably not even the most common reason people lie. I don't know how to explain it. I guess I just mean that no one really gets to say that something is wrong. So I'm not going to be the one to do it. She raised her eyes a bit and frowned at an impressed frown. Thank you for your answer, Derek. I appreciate your elaboration. I'm interested in your stance, that perhaps my question was flawed, that we are in no place to be moral detectives and judges toward each other. There you go. Very interesting indeed. Thank you, Derek. She took a pause. What about you, Ash? Is lying immoral? No. Ash, what have we said about these one-word answers? Yes and no are powerful words, but they are commanders in need of armies. Back it up, girl. Okay, let's say this. You're at home and you're a parent and your kid's at home too. They're sleeping or whatever. And some guy knocks on your door and says, is your kid home? I want to kill it. And he's holding a knife and he lets all crazy and shit. and he says again, "Is your kid home? I'm going to slit its throat." Obviously, you're going to say no, unless you really hate your kid or something. But most people would say no, and you lied to him. But does that make you bad that you lied to this guy so he didn't kill your kid? So you're approaching the question with moral relativity in mind. Can anyone here define moral relativity for us? There is silence. Vincent? Moral relativity implies that certain actions are immoral when carried out by some but not by others. Derek eyed Sophie, who was already looking at him in anticipation of his impressed glance. She just gave him a mixture of a nod and a shrug. Or maybe in Ash's situation, perhaps she meant that certain things are immoral in certain situations but not in others when carried out by the same person. Very good. A fine explanation. Does everyone understand what we're speaking of here? Murmurs rose. Let's picture someone living in extreme poverty. They were born into poverty and know nothing other than poverty. Soon, they slip into complete homelessness and their situation worsens by the day. They realize that in order to properly feed themselves, they need to steal. So each morning they do, they go to the local bakery. I should drop by the bakery. Let's say, and they steal enough food to keep them alive. Now, take the same situation and apply it to a wealthy person. This person has no worries in regards to finances. They never have to wonder where their next meal will come from. But they too have taken up the habit of stealing. They steal food and electronics and so on. Is it possible, or rather, could it be reasonable to suggest that perhaps stealing in one of those cases is immoral, whereas in the other it is not? Or is there a universal rule, as something that is bad for one, bad for all? No. His voice was so soft that Mrs. DuPont's gaze fell on him with a measurable level of uncertainty. Toby? It's not. Mrs. DuPont smiled. Derek could tell that Toby rarely participated in these conversations, and so the teacher was glad he said anything at all, even if it was muted and vague. What is not? His breath stuttered under his anxiousness. There's a story in the Bible I read once. Ah, you're one of those kids, Toby. I didn't date. Yeah, that's a story behind itself. I'll get into it one day. I think it's in the book of Exodus, but I'm not sure. And there was a king who was afraid that his slaves might become strong enough to overthrow him and his empire. And so he told the women working for him, the midwives, I guess, to go out and kill the male babies that were being born to the slaves. If all the boys were killed, the population would be weak. And so the midwives, they didn't want to do it, obviously. And when they went back to the king or the pharaoh, he asked them how it was going. And the midwife lied to him and said that the slave mothers gave birth really fast, that they were so fast that the babies were hidden before she could get there and kill them. She lied to her king, and in the story it says that God looks upon her with favor. So, if you think about that faith, or any faith really, lying is considered bad, but even though it's considered bad, there are still situations where it was seen as good. He thought about something for a moment. I like Toby. He's sweet, from what I've seen so far. Well, maybe not good, but better than killing babies. Vincent began to laugh obnoxiously. Ha ha ha. Oh man. Vincent? I don't even know. I just thought that was funny. Vincent, what Toby offered was an insightful look into his personal thoughts on the subject at hand. What you're offering is abrasive and rude. Please stop. Yeah, well, I expect nothing like that again in the future. She softened her face and turned her attention towards Toby. Thank you for your thoughts, Toby. Personally, I found that story fascinating. While I admit my specific knowledge of the Christian faith is quite limited, I'm very glad that we have such diverse backgrounds to hear from. Thank you very much. Derek looked to Vincent, whose body was stretched out down his chair, his head reclined against the wooden back. His hands were woven together on his lap, and he looked altogether disinterested. While the conversation was involving and new, Derek soon found his attention wavering. He could no longer focus on the debate. It seemed wholly trivial to him. Is lying immoral? Why are we talking about this? This place. Everything seems gray. The class seemed to pass by without force. He sat with no effort and let his muscles fall as they would, sinking into the chair. At one point, everyone rose, went to the front of the classroom, and gathered their notebooks. Mrs. DuPont made her way to Derek's desk and handed hers to him personally. She may have given him some loose instruction, but it was lost on Derek. A formal lesson began. What was about to be forgotten. Derek held his pencil, also given to him by the teacher, with a limp grip. He wrote nothing. And I think that just about does it. We've covered today's materials. I'll also remind you of the upcoming deadlines. You should all know what they are. Please have your work in on time. Derek rose slightly from his tight hunch. He looked to his right and laughed, and then to the clock. Class is over? Mrs. DuPont drew a heavy breath. I think that is all. Oh, before we go, Derek, please stay behind today. We'll have a little chat, please. Everyone else, you're free to go.